What is happening at JGame Dude here? And this is a story that really hurt, I guess. It did hurt because I'm very much a fan of platformers. Whether it be the Spyro games, whether it be the Crash games, whether it be, Ratchet and Clank, whether it be Jak and Daxter. Some franchises last longer than the other, and more often than not, we've just gone for a really long time without some real quality platformers. Granted, we do still have Sonic, but it's really very much a case of to each their own ultimately. But to find out that Crash 5 was in fact being worked on and is now effectively cancelled, so like an actual Crash 5 and not like games that we got on the PS2 that were technically dubbed Crash 4 and Crash 5 but in the Japanese region, but I digress. And then there was also some rumor going around about there being a Project Dragon being in the works, but it turns out that it was actually at a different studio within Activision that was working on Project Dragon and did not have anything to do with Spyro, which was an interesting tidbit that we also got. I personally hadn't heard of Project Dragon until this news actually came out that was casually dropped by the artist that was actually working on they worked on Crash 4 and was on the team with, I want to say, Toys for Bob. Yeah, I think so. So first reported by The Gamer, character artist Nicholas Cole recently took to Twitter to announce that a game he spent over 3 years working on has been unceremoniously cancelled. The game had been dubbed Project Dragon, and so many Spyro fans naturally worried that Activision had quietly canned a new Spyro game, which Cole shot down. What Cole does say, as seen in his response below, is that Crash Bandicoot 5 was in the works at one point when it was eventually uncovered, and details about the project make their way to fans of the long-standing platformer series. Cole said that it's going to break hearts. So, yeah. So it says, Daniel Barnes tweeted, "If this is Spyro, I'm going to be the most pissed off man who ever lived." Nicholas Cole says, It is not Spyro, but someday folks will hear about Crash 5 that never was, and it's gonna break hearts." Which is really, really unfortunate, but that's just such a heartbreaking thing to hear because of how exceptionally good Crash 4 was and how much of a level up it was to the, Crash trilogy that we got as a remaster earlier on back in 2017, I want to say? Yeah. So it genuinely did feel like an actual sequel compared to some of the other games that we got in the series after the original Crash, trilogy on PS1, where we got stuff like The Wrath of Cortex, Crash to Insanity, and it was just really trying to sort of ape what Crash 3 already was, I suppose, and even the portable Crash games, which some were pretty good. So stuff like Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced on GBA and The Huge Adventure, both of those were actually pretty good for being portable adventures. Cole doesn't provide any other details about the cancelled Crash game, probably because he's under a NDA preventing him from doing so. The developer also doesn't confirm that the project was in development at Crash 4. It's About Time Studio, Toys for Bob, so we don't know what studio this was actually being developed with. Although that does seem likely given the studio's proximity to the Crash series over the last few years. Speaking of the studio though, Toys for Bob recently went independent after separating from Activision Blizzard. Toys for Bob laid off 86 developers in the process amid reports of a full studio closure, this being the physical studio, not the actual development studio. Those guys are still very much working from home, and they have partnered with Xbox for their next game, so this is kind of where the theories about what Toys for Bob has been working on has largely been maybe they're working on a new Banjo-Kazooie, because that is kind of the biggest platforming franchise that Xbox has under its belt, and people have been looking at the colors of the logo for Toys for Bob and things like that and being like, oh, it's purple, therefore it's got to be Spyro that they're working on. But funnily enough, Toys for Bob's logo has always kind of had some amount of purple and things like that on it in terms of like their overall look for the studio, so that actually doesn't lead to too much credence in that sense. However, there is at least more evidence to suggest it might be a Banjo-Kazooie only purely by the fact that they're working with Microsoft, unless they're working on like a Conker, which is again really hard to figure out whether or not that would be the case. And if they were actually working on a Conker, wouldn't that be better done with Rare? But then again, Rare hasn't been, you know, Rare since they've released games like Sea of Thieves, and then this new game that they're working on, I forgot what the name of the game is, but it's unlikely we're going to be seeing it anytime soon, if like, you know, Sea of Thieves was anything else to go by. But yeah, I'm actually curious to hear what you guys have to say about what do you think is being worked on by the guys at Toys for Bob. Are they actually working on Spyro at the moment? Are they working on Banjo-Kazooie? What is this partnered with Xbox title going to ultimately be? And do you think that them splitting from Activision and splitting from Xbox ultimately, will that actually be a more beneficial position for Toys for Bob to be in? Because I feel like it should be, given that people are going to want to use their talents to make new games and franchises that they own. And very much because Spyro and Crash still fall under the purview of Xbox rather than themselves, they would either need to make original content or partner with someone else to make you know, something with IP that is owned by the partnering publisher that they're, you know, partnering with ultimately. But it will be interesting to see how things go and what their situation looks like for them moving forward. But with all that said and done, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Like the video if you liked this, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 300 subs by the end of the year. And with all that said and done, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.